Sarah,
Aaron,
Brianna,
and Joe. And thanks for popping by Meaningfueled, where we take your problems of practice, or POPs, and have a meaning-fueled discussion about where they come from and where to go from here.
we are 4 longtime educators bringing our diverse experiences to the table.
we're harnessing all the energy of popping into your teacher bestie's classroom and bringing it straight to your ears.
let's get poppin' with today's problem of practice.
So, today's problem of practice. You've just worked a long day. You're exhausted and hungry. But instead of heading home, you are heading to the gorgeous faculty restroom to change into your fancy clothes. Because tonight is curriculum night or back to school night or whatever your school calls it. And of course, you can't let family see how you really dress at school. After getting changed, you head back to your classroom, you clean every surface, you straighten every bin, neaten every folder, you zhuzh the markers, just so. And then you wait. And you wait. Is it hot in here?
Yes.
Yes, because for me, this was one of the most stressful, anxiety-producing, and confusing nights of the year. I mean, what do? Do the kids come? Is it just adults? How much information do you deliver? Or at least try to? There has got to be a better way. How can we make curriculum night, back to school night, more valuable and manageable for everyone involved? So, I want to talk about this today on the podcast because it really was one of my very least favorite nights of the year. In the district I started teaching in, it was start to finish awful. No other way to say it. So it begins after that whole, scene of getting everything ready and waiting around anxiously. It began with us sitting in the gymnasium-atorium.
Oh, sure.
Cafeteria.
Yep,
We have a cafeteria.
It was actually, I ate lunch there too. And we had to sit up on stage under the bright lights
On display.
on display as the principal droned on and then introduced us and we awkwardly waved.
Sounds awful.
And then inevitably this part went on too long. I remember one year in particular, the PTA president got up there and she just kept going and going and going and nobody had the, hook to yank her down. And we're all sweating profusely because the 27 minutes that we've been given to present is now slowly shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. Actually, I think the next year they said we didn't have to sit on the stage because of it.
Thank you.
It was that bad.
What a compromise.
Right? So the way it worked was you had it was 27 minutes. I remember this. This was 15 years ago.
Exact
right?
weird number.
And then there was a 3-minute transition because it was the K2 teachers present for 27 minutes and then the 3-5 and we would flip-flop every year who got to go first. That was always a thing.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, because you never wanted to do the late one. You didn't want to stay
Exactly.
till 8 p.m.
And, of course it was designed if you had perfectly spaced children, you could go to both presentations, but inevitably people would have a kindergartner and a first grader, right? And not be able to be in 2 places at once. But anyway, so we would go back to the classrooms after this with half the time we were supposed to have. And the expectation in this school was that I present the entirety of the 3rd grade curriculum to families in this time frame.
I mean, what's hilarious is you get those curriculum documents that are 50 pages long from the district and they want you to sum that up for parents and just 20 minutes. Good job.
And in a family-friendly language.
Right.
Not full of educational jargon.
Correct. we do reading workshop, right? So inevitably, you're up there speaking literally a mile a minute.
Yeah.
And making very little sense to yourself and to Aaron's point, probably even less sense to the families that are there. And I just remember it was over. Well, it was almost over. The announcement came on. Okay, families, it's time to move on to the next thing. I'm halfway through the slides, I'm mortified. I'm like, well, I understand that some people have to go to other classrooms, but I promise I have a couple more slides to go. Like,
Right.
Email me.
Right, like, but I'm gonna write a blog post about this, and it'll all be on the website, anyway, so, like, awful. Like, at the end of the day, I felt awful, and I don't think that anyone there got very much out of this experience. I mean, like, so I remember, like, chatting with folks about it afterwards, and saying, like, am I doing something wrong here? Like, because there was no way I could, like, get through this presentation. And I got, like, some decent advice. And someone was like, what families really want out of this night is to, like, see you, to, like, get to know you, and, like, understand that you're,
a human,
a person, and, like, they feel good about sending their kid to school every day. So I remember, like, the next year, I, like, went in the whole other direction, right? I, like, cut all the curriculum stuff down to, like, barely nothing, and I decided I was going to be, like, inspirational.
Oh, yeah, inspirational.
I love it.
Yep, that, like, they were gonna, like, come in and they were gonna just be, like, inspired and feel, like, so good that their kid was in my class because, like, I cared about the important things. I had, like, found this great video from, shout out Peter Reynolds. It was, like, a video version of his book Going Places, and it was about, like, creativity and collaboration and, like, all of these, like, the really important things, were not, like, the curriculum. It was about, like, bringing your whole self and, like, working together and achieving goals.
I was just about to say, I bet you said the phrase whole child.
Oh.
Like, a lot.
And let me tell you, so I had this great plan, right? And again, I ran out of time. Because I still, like, it was curriculum night and they were still had to talk about a little bit of the curriculum. And again, I remember being like, well, I just had this video to show you, so if you can stay, I'm going to show this video now, but if not, like, people are walking out the door, and I'm like, there goes my inspiration. And, like, hours and hours and hours, right, to plan this. And, of course, you're going to wake up the next morning and teach all day, right? And it just didn't feel good again. And I just feel like I went through, like, iteration after iteration after iteration of trying to, like, make this work, and it never felt quite right. So I'm very interested to hear about your experiences. Were they similar to mine? Was this your least favorite night of the year, or maybe there are some places out there doing it a little bit better?
I'll go first. We presented as a team, so there were 3 teachers at our grade level. The principal did a giant presentation in the cafeteria, and then everybody came upstairs. And we decided as a team to bond together and stay in. We had, like, a breakout space that was, conjoined all our classrooms. So we decided to stay in that space together because, solidarity. And we also didn't want anybody to get cornered. I think one of the things that happened a lot at back to school nights originally when we tried to present all in our own rooms is that people would get stuck. And you get that one family that corners you in and then you don't know how to get out. So you're like,
they're
power
sharing
numbers.
all kinds of inappropriate information with you about the kids' allergies
Very
or whatever.
Personal, letting everyone hear.
I mean, there's those families, and then there's the families who are like, and tell me more about your philosophy of math. And you're like, oh my God, it's 7:30 p.m. I'd like to go home. Why do you want to know this right now?
Right, absolutely. So that was our strategy, and it actually worked quite well. So we presented together. Everybody took one slide or aspect of the curriculum. We focused on communication, on how to use technology, on what families would actually need. That presentation went on a while, and then we did give time for families to go into the classrooms, but then we'd be outside of them. So whenever you'd have to speak, it'd be like, you can go in and investigate. We'll be out here.
That's clever.
That way,
That's clever.
which was interesting and kind of worked, because again, they got to see the space, which is just as important as them seeing you for some people.
Yeah.
But then you didn't get cornered.
But
You
then
had
we didn't
people-
get cornered, and we
I
kind
see.
of had like that team effort as a part of it.
But I would argue that they probably didn't get to know you super well through this
No.
Yeah,
night.
there was no like presenting about like who you are, where'd you
Well,
go to
we
school.
said a little bit about ourselves at the beginning, but very like short
Very
and
short.
sweet.
Right, like a bio, yeah.
Yes. And then it was like, here's every single subject, here's how
Right.
lunch works, here's how iPads work, let's go.
Let's be honest, there's definitely parents that left that night being like, which one's our child's teacher?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, so at my school, well, back in the day school, we took it kind of like Erin did and presented as a team, but we modified it a little bit to be like a two-parter. So we presented as a team in a central location together first. We each took a subject, presented our bullets about the curriculum.
So helpful.
It really, I mean, it was what it was.
Yep.
It gave the overview of the year, and, you know, because we were all of the families together with the 4 teachers standing in the front of the room, there wasn't really space to ask a lot of those nitty-gritty, annoying, I will say, questions about like, well, what does it mean that you're writing a personal narrative? We just were able to kind of skip right on through that. But it was nice because we could give like the grade level information together. We talked about field trips coming up. We talked about, I taught 3rd grade for a long time, so we talked about the state testing that the kids were going to do for the first time. All of that stuff we were able to handle as a team, which was nice. And then
Certainly better than on your own.
yes, oh my gosh, yes. Especially when I was new to the team and I was like, I don't know.
Right.
I haven't taught this before.
Trying to do that as a new teacher, that's a whole other...
terrible,
Yeah.
terrible and awful.
Yes.
But yeah, then we had a half an hour total, so that took 15-ish minutes, and then we transferred up to our classrooms, and we broke off into our individual rooms. We did go in, and I did like a 5-minute, like, here's special things about my classroom and me that your kid will experience this year.
That's nice.
And that's like not what Erin experienced. You were able to give the little personal
Right,
anecdote
right.
from your room.
Because we were 4 different people and we had 4 different ways of doing things, we were able to kind of communicate that to families. And then they had the rest of the time to like walk around the room, write a note to their kid, all of that kind of like traditionally stuff. For us, it felt like a good mix of like information giving, but also like personal get to know you time. I mean, it was not terrible for us once we got to the structure, but it felt like it got mixed reviews from parents. There were parents who wanted more of like the curriculum stuff that like Joe was talking about in his formal presentation. And then there were parents who wanted more of that just like unstructured look around the room time like Erin's had. So it was interesting because it felt like we tried so hard to please everybody, but I don't know if you can please
You
them
never
all.
really
No.
can.
No.
So
No.
Brianna, what's it looking like for you?
So Sarah and I were actually at the same school for a very long time. So she did it with her team. The rest of the school...
And your team doesn't like you?
No, the expectation of like the rest of the school was you do it by yourself, but they came up with this great strategy. So I also hate back to school night, Joe. I hate it. There's a reason I teach 2nd grade, and it's not because I talk in front of adults. Like
Yeah,
I don't like it. It is anxiety producing. I'm sweating in my 86-degree heat classroom up on the 3rd floor.
What is air conditioning?
No, I've never heard of it. So, it was that. It was the curriculum for 45 minutes. It was a little bit of talking about me. As a first-year teacher, trying to do this by yourself is
45
impossible.
minutes.
It's impossible.
Oh my
Your 2nd grade lessons don't go that long.
Absolutely not. So
I guess I could have fit it all in 45 minutes, but
it
feels like a long
felt
time.
like a long time, but then I also ran out of time.
Yeah.
I ran out of time to talk about stuff, and I couldn't. I don't like it either. And then you've got parents, so then you're able to be in your classroom with parents. They're able to ask the questions, but then you get wild questions.
Yeah.
We've all had those
Too much
wild
time
questions.
can be a bad thing.
Right, and then there are some years where I went, before I was like, oh, we have so much time, 10 minutes for questions.
Right, questions, please.
Yikes.
So then it's
Yikes,
like,
right.
how much iPad time are they going to be on every day?
Oh,
and I'm
gosh.
like, I don't know. Or how much, is it more than 1st grade iPad time, or is it less than 1st grade iPad
Who
time?
knows what 1st grade does?
I have no idea.
Right.
And then, then you've got that parent that comes up to you and I appreciate you wanting to know, but coming up to us at 7 p.m. and saying, how is my kid doing?
Yeah. They want to have like the teacher conference like,
And
right
within
then
like
and there.
the first month of school, where like you're like, I'm pretty good. I'm still getting to know them.
Still learning
actually.
And I think
everything.
that is like, I think year after year, like parents have this expectation that we're gonna like know their children really well.
At the end of
Right
week
away.
one.
Like right away,
yeah.
and like it really does take time.
It does.
I mean, like it really like when my conferences always seem to roll around like mid-October, and that was the time where I finally felt like I like had a handle and could speak to kids. Like in middle of
Third week of September? No.
Absolutely not.
Nope.
But I also don't want to speak that in front of all these
Ooh,
other
God, no.
families.
No.
Well, you know, it's interesting, Erin, that you say all these other families because
What? Not everyone shows up to back
not,
to
you know,
school.
I think we've all had that experience, but you may be to the extreme.
Oh, 100%. So my first year I had 28 kids in my
Yikes.
class. And again, transient
28 's a big
population,
number.
military base. However, they just have to walk. You could literally walk to the school. So I was like, oh my gosh. And everybody was like, yeah, people will show up. Everybody will be there. I had 4 parents show up. I had 4
God.
families out of 28.
Oh my
So
God.
again, all the preparation, all the time, you're like, 4 people are getting this information, and 1 fell asleep. And
So you were down to 3.
who knows how their day went? Not very well. Totally get it. It's 7 p.m. You may
Yeah.
have had a rough
I mean,
day at
I
work.
wanna fall
You're
asleep
fighting
too.
kids to eat before you're like, I have to rush off to your school.
Right.
Eat this
Maybe
dinner,
there's a
let's do that.
babysitter,
Right.
maybe
there's
just
a
an older
babysitter, maybe there's
sibling.
not.
Right.
And yeah, she full fell asleep. And I was like, oh, am I talking too much?
Am I that boring?
Am I this boring already? No, turns out it wasn't just me. She did fall asleep. Eventually, like, someone else asked a question, kind of jarred her awake, and then it was like she just
Poor
walked out the
thing.
door. We're like, okay,
And
bye.
I think that's the thing, like, you know, even I've never had it that bad,
Right.
but we had like we had students who were bussed in from the inner city to attend the suburban school I was teaching at, and like their families had a much more difficult time getting out of with the traffic
Yeah.
and everything, coming out. And then, you know, there's plenty of other families who just like didn't make it. It was at night, they didn't have a babysitter, and as Sarah mentioned before, we would do like the note thing.
Yep.
Where, you know, like, oh, leave a note for your adult, tell them they'll write back to you. And like many years, I'm sitting there now at almost 9 p.m.
Right.
Like frantically trying to write notes back
24 notes.
right
for all
back to
those
the
families.
kids who no one was able to come for because you don't want them to feel left out. I will say I had some great like room parents and like other families who like
Shout out to those families that
Yeah.
look out for the other kids.
they'd be like, oh, do you want me to write one for so and so too? And I'd be like, oh my gosh, yes.
Which is also
Because
nice because kids know, like, oh, my teacher wrote me in.
I know.
Instead of my
It's not
family.
no, and then
So
I
even another family still
Right.
gives that validation, like
And then
someone outside cared
I
about
stopped
you.
doing it because
Yeah.
just that. Like
Right.
it wasn't like that I minded writing the note. It's just like my note is never gonna be
Right,
the
what
same
they're
as my
looking for.
adult being here for me.
Yeah.
And you know, it was another one of those like well-intentioned,
Of
like
course.
did this whole thing, spent time during the school day, had them get their desk ready, leave out some work they were proud of, only to like then feel disappointed because of like circumstances beyond their control or
Right.
even their family's control at
Yeah.
times. Again, just nothing about this night felt right. And I will say, I then moved on to a new school district, and I thought, okay, maybe it'll feel better here. Now, granted, also in a different role. So I was a math specialist in this new district, not a classroom teacher, so that piece of it too. But here, it was more of an open house. So it was, which is really just a code word for a free-for-all. There were no
no.
presentations.
Oh.
Teachers just kind of stood in front of their door, slightly inside of their door, and kids came.
Oh, kids came.
Kids came with their parents and just kind of like toured them around the school. Now, this was a community where like most families have come to school regularly for events and things like that. Like it's not like the school was like a new thing for
Right.
people. So it was like very odd to me. And I thought, maybe it's a classroom teacher. Maybe this is not really anxiety producing at all, because they just kind of come and they walk around,
Say hi, and then
say hi.
Also, a lot on a kindergartner to walk their family around. They don't know anything
Well,
at
right.
that time of year.
But I guess, they do like walk them to the gymnasium and to the, art room and whatever. And so it felt like everyone was involved.
Oh,
where I
yeah.
will say in my previous school, like all that pressure was on me as a classroom teacher. And I felt like because of like the set presentation times, very few people like actually visited other specials in the building, which, it means they get off easy. And I guess it felt more equitable
Right.
in this building that was like, everyone
Everybody's free.
had to be on.
Everybody's free.
And me, being the math specialist, was asked the first year by my principal if I would run a STEAM challenge
Oh.
for families to do during this night.
And
They
what
could
did you
randomly
do?
come in on.
So yeah, and he got on the loudspeaker and was like, just so everybody knows, in room blah blah blah, we're doing the marshmallow challenge, we'd love everyone to stop by. So literally like hundreds of families, I was like drenched in sweat by the end of the night from like cutting tape and sticky with marshmallows, like the marshmallow spaghetti, make it as
Yeah.
tall as you
86 degree
can.
heat.
I'm measuring things. It was complete chaos.
So you went from one anxiety-producing model to a different,
Two different one.
anxiety-producing model, but it seems like it was just for you, just
Just
anxiety for you.
Right, because all the classroom teachers were like, yeah, that was really fine. I mean, I guess there's
You
still,
couldn't escape the anxiety.
I guess there's still like the opportunity for them to get cornered or like, all those
Sure.
question
Oh, yeah.
things that we were talking about. But like by and large, they did not have to like prep this major presentation. They didn't like have to like talk to adults, which
I feel like there's like a fine line of how can we figure this out, because at my school it was the classroom teachers did the presentation, and then the specialists and the sped staff, support staff, they were all in the cafeteria. And so then there was like a weird like 20 minutes where like, let's say kindergarten first and second were presenting from 8 to 8:45, and then before that it was like 7:45 to 8 you could go to the cafeteria and talk to all of these specialists and support staff.
So they're not in their space.
But they're not in their space, and they're not doing a whole presentation about themselves and what their curriculum is and what any of that. So that doesn't always feel right either, because families don't get to see their space, and then they're also not.
they didn't have to judge the markers.
They didn't have to judge the markers, but they're also not standing up in front of 20 adults, maybe
Yes.
more if you have two adults from each family. That's 50 people in one room. They don't have to do that, and then it's like, where's that equity of what is expected of every staff member in the building that night? Is
And-
it just on the classroom teacher?
Yeah, and
or-
ultimately, like, what are families getting out of it
Right.
is like the question that I asked myself in the old school and this new school.
And I'll say, like, in a middle school, people, like, I had the same thing, I role switched, and in the new district, they just follow the kid's schedule. So it's like 5 minutes, and they do get to see every specialist in their space, but then everyone else who's a support staff, like, you don't really want to isolate kids that you're on their schedule. So we all just kind of were like the leaders, and everybody's like, where's the choir room? And I was like, I'm new here, I think it's that direction. And then somebody'd be like, you left them to orchestra. I was like, oh, oops,
Oh, whoops.
oops. Sorry, they'll find it eventually, just like the kids.
You're directing
but
traffic.
they did, right, but I'm directing traffic, so then like that didn't really do anything for me.
Which is
but at least
super
they get to
anxiety
see,
producing once you know where choir is.
right.
Yes.
But at least they get to see the specialist in their space, but it's only 5 minutes. So presentation be gone, can't do
Right.
anything.
It's like,
That-
hi, this is who you're right.
Yep.
Here's my email address, you're right.
Yeah.
Type of thing. So, I feel like there are better ways out there than what we're all describing so far. And I know Sarah's school
Yeah.
has maybe some improvements that, my previous school could learn from.
Yeah, so I also moved districts, like some of my friends up here. And in my new district, we had to really kind of think about who our population was. We teach in a community that school is kind of a foreign, not always super welcoming place for our families, not just our kids. And we wanted to change that narrative as much as we can in our roles.
Right. So if you invited them in to like sit down and listen to a teacher talk while they sit at desks.
No one's coming to that.
Right.
No one's coming to that.
Right.
There's, a variety of languages spoken where that's not super feasible either.
Right.
So we kind of had a school leadership team meeting about it and kind of thought what will work for our community. The first thing we knew was that kids have to be able to come, because if parents are on the hook for finding childcare for this length of time at night, no one's coming.
Right.
So that was our first kind of kids have to come. Now we need things for them to do. The kids don't want to sit through and just listen to their teachers talk
No?
about what's going on that year for 40 minutes. They're not going to
They want to listen to us talk most of the time.
And neither do their parents.
Right.
So we created a passport, a kind of stops
cool.
in the school to go see. That passport had all of the art, music, library, all of the gym, all of those places on it. It also had the nurse's office. So the nurse could oh hey, and you just signed this form that you forgot to sign, or the main office was there, and so was our office staff to put a face to a voice that they hear on the phones typically. So that was all very lovely. I'm a coach, so our roles were like Erin's, where the hall monitors, and my spot was outside the Lost and Found, but the Lost and Found was on the passport, because even though it's mid-September,
it's already
Lost and Found is popping.
Yeah.
But I think the passport gave it enough structure that the kids had places to go with their parents. It wasn't a free-for-all.
Yeah, feels better than what I have.
Right. Everyone was involved. Everyone had a position. We took people like the guidance counselors, and we put them as the welcome committee.
Nice.
So again, we're making the connections for families of different school staff that they might interact with,
right,
that will be important to build relationships with. And that's how we approached this night, was really about bringing the families in and building relationships.
And it includes everybody in the school. I didn't even think about the nurse. In all honesty, I didn't think about
I'm up there presenting about the career. I'm not thinking about any of the
I'm too stressed out about trying to give my presentation. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and then we talked with the teachers about what they could do in their classrooms that would be helpful to give information for people who wanted it. So we made quick one-pagers, literal one-pagers, not one-pagers that are actually 5 pages.
So they still gave a presentation?
No.
Oh.
It's a handout.
An information sheet.
We copy it in the major languages that parents speak in our school. So they were just able to kind of here is what the curriculum is. The teachers were there to answer any questions. They had student work out. And that was the expectation, was that students were really introducing their parents to their teacher and to their classroom and their school. And it's really, it's only been a couple years, but it's been really great.
You get emails throughout the year about curriculum, about things organically as they come up. So it really does beg the question, is this giant presentation about the whole year of curriculum that they're not going to remember what you were supposed to teach in May, is it really valuable? Or is it better spent that time communicating with families throughout the year?
It's a great point. So I feel if we're taking some nuggets out of this, what I hear Sarah saying is, start by really thinking about your community and what they need. I do think, Erin, the community that I started in, they did need some curricular information, in the sense that they were, if we didn't do anything, I was going to get 100 emails about the curriculum.
Right.
So it was good to say these are the major things your kid's going to learn this year. That was something they wanted. So as much as maybe I didn't enjoy it, or maybe a team model of presenting that piece you all did would have been a better way to go, or just more thoughtful timing of that event would have been a better way to go. That's what that community needed, whereas Sarah's community needs something different. So but
just more thought.
More thought.
I feel at least for my district, and now I've been in the same district, same role for 10 years, and that's where I've been. But I feel it's been the same forever.
Right. No one's even asked the question.
No,
Right.
of how do we improve this? Should we improve it?
Right.
What changes?
What's
can we
working?
make?
What's not? Right.
What's
Yeah,
the point?
It feels
Right.
like one of those where like districts, schools aren't asking the question because they're not thinking to ask the
No.
question. Like, I wonder how
Sneaks
many
up on
places-
everybody too.
Yes.
You know, it is beginning of the year. Like, so many
You're
other
in
things are going
survival
on.
mode.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I wonder how many places can really say, this is the point of back to school night. This is the point of curriculum
If you had an
night."
objective,
Right.
on what you are,
What's your learning target?
Right.
what is the objective of back to school night, curriculum night?
Yeah. It's a really great question.
And I don't know that a lot of schools can answer that question.
Right.
No. So we would say start by really thinking about your community.
Mm-hmm.
We would say utilize all staff as part of that plan, whether that's a team
Yeah.
that you're going to present with. I mean, I remember too, I'd be giving that like rambly presentation, and then my special educator would pop in
pop by, if you will.
because she just wanted to be like, oh, I'm another face that you might see in this room, and like,
Oh, and
Oh.
see, we had our special educator present with us.
see, that's better, right?
That is better.
Like they should be included, right, and not othered, right? Like so really thinking about all of those people that interact with the child, the nurse. I think really thinking about how to get everyone possible, you know, the opportunity to connect with families,
Yes.
even if that's just face to a name,
Right.
you know, not just the person behind an email. And then I think if you do have to give a presentation, right, that there are
It is the expectation in some
in a lot of places,
yeah.
I think. I think we have decided that shorter is better. So don't over plan it. And ultimately, I think that if I were to say what the objective of the night is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, it really is about forging that initial connection, getting that the face to the name, and having families feel like you are a safe, caring person that that they're going to be sending their child.
And you're a human.
You're a human.
Like, remember that if you don't know the answer to something, it's okay. Just
Right.
tell them that. Get back to you about that.
Yeah,
It's okay.
Like give yourself that space
Yeah.
and that grace. I do think like you can go over like the X's and O's of your classroom. I do think if you give homework, like I remember like it was always good to be like I have a no tears policy for homework. Like if you work on that math sheet for more than like 15 minutes, literally 15 minutes, and they like can't do it, you write me a note and you send it back in, and like I will go over it with them.
Yeah.
You do not like make this last an hour. Like there's no reason anyone should be crying at third grade over a homework assignment. Those are the kinds of things that like teachers, I feel like, should be trying to communicate on this night, and not worrying about all the math topics necessarily that
Right.
we're gonna
Well,
And how
be
much
hitting.
iPad time you're going to be
Right.
using.
It's really connection and communication.
Right.
Again, communicating about homework. This is our policy.
Yeah,
How
the
am I going to
high-level
be in
stuff.
touch with you
Right,
the rest of the year? Do you have, a class dojo thing? Do you have a blog? Do
Right.
you have a this? How else am I going to get information if I need it later on?
So it sounds like community, thinking about your community, connection, and communication. Look at that, we did
Look
it,
at that
everyone.
Peter
Wow.
Reynolds video
Wow.
of all those things
Right.
we tried to inspire years ago.
I can get the inspirational video up right now. All right, well, I think that wraps us up for today.
Thank you for popping by Meaningfueled. Remember, we're here for you anytime. Our door is always open. You can visit our website at getmeaningfueled.com for ideas and inspiration to bring to your classroom.
Follow us at Get Meaningfueled on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads, and just Meaningfueled on Facebook.
And we would love to hear your thoughts about this week's problem of practice here. What is back to school night, curriculum night like in your school? Do you have the same experiences as we do? So you can comment on any of our social media posts or find the whole episode over on YouTube.
And if you have a problem of practice you would like us to discuss, please send it in a DM or at getmeaningfueled@gmail.com, and we'd love to discuss it.
And if you have your curriculum night coming up, good luck to you.
Good
You got
luck.
this.
Yeah.
You got this.
Yes.